Okay, I think the moderator is ready. Good morning, everyone. This is the United Nations Commission on Status of Women 66 section Miss CARICOM Foundation side event. I appreciate the panelists for your time and your energy. My humble request is you have 10 minutes each. I hope I'm correct, or 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes so to make your presentation. And again, please be on video. All panelists should be on video.
Okay, the event
please don't go out
now.
when you finish
I'll
speaking.
call you back. Thanks, love you,
because what makes Zoom very unprofessional is when presenters, panelists speak, they log off and everything becomes vacant. It doesn't look standard and professional. And this is what we have to share in the media. We wouldn't want your name to be on the screen without your image. We'll try to finish this program exactly within 2 hours. We have 12 to 2 to finish. So just give us this time and please be on your camera. Thank you. I'll start the webinar right now. For the attendees to start coming in, I'll give them 5 minutes for them to come in before we start the actual program. Hi, Your Excellency, Dr. Justina. Thank you. You just ran out of a program and you are here. You're welcome. Yes.
Hi, Ada. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Hi, Monica. Thank you so much, Monica, for the invitation. I'm highly honored and humbled that you invited me to your event. Thank you so much. And it is, of course, a great topic.
Thank you. Yeah, for the attendees that are coming in, make use of the chat box, your comments, your questions for each presenter, so that the moderator will be able to read it out after each presenter. Your comments on the presentation, your questions or concerns or what each presenter has been able to present. So make use of the chat box for each presenter, and the moderator will be able to share with you, to the audience, on what your opinion is. Also, by the time the presenters have finished presenting, it would be nice that everyone shares his or her contribution to the theme on the chat box, because those will be used as interventions in the report of this event. Thank you for your time and thank you for being here with us. Having said that, if there's any other question, any other concerns from the panelists, I'll start the program. The program is recorded on YouTube and on Zoom, so we have good outlet for the records. Thank you. I still need Dr. Justina to be on video. The Honorable Thomas is still on, can be on video. Want to have a glimpse of all the presenters. Just a face for the time being. Let the attendees be able to know the faces of their speakers. Yes. And anyone who has a good camera can be able to take a good photograph. Honorable Delos, you are half face. Your worship, please. Yes, thank you. Sit out very well. We are seeing half of your eyes. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Thank you. Very well, very well. So anyone can take a good photograph of the speakers. Excellent, excellent. Who is missing out? I think we are all. Where is Dr. Lord? Lord Simmons? Yes. Okay. I think we are all set. Thank you. Thank you. A good snapshot. Thank you. Okay. I welcome you all once again, and to all attendees, thanks for joining us and at this parallel event of Miss CARICOM International Foundation at the CSW66 section, taking place right now since Monday, and we have to close to end on Friday next week. So it's always exciting that UN gives organizations in special consultative status the opportunity to be able to rend their voices, express their opinions, and make their contribution to any of the teams, priority teams of the CSW. Of course, we all know that the March is always an important month in the life of every woman across the world. We start with International Women's Day, and then the United Nations opens up with the Commission on Status of Women for 2 weeks, gathering member states and gender advocates, civil societies, NGOs, policy advocates on gender to issues concerning women and girls. And everything about women are all inclusive. This year is a very special aspect because we are looking at climate action, environmental, and disaster programs and activities, in how to see how the women are doing and how best to get the women acclimatized to the issues of adjusting to environment, especially since the issue about COVID-19, a lot of issues have come up, bringing up climate issues. A lot of nations, communities are having a lot of experiences on climate changes, environmental experiences, and risk disasters. So, but what is the position of women? Where are they in this situation? How can they regulate the situation? How can they be able to make themselves still responsive to the global agenda? Now, with the Miss CARICOM Foundation, we are saying that the global understanding on gender is crucial in climate, environment, and disaster risk reduction frameworks through the development of coherent, convergent, and coordinated gender-responsive national policies, programs, and actions that will lead to joint and mutually reinforcing national and local implementations. This requires integration of a gender perspective into the design, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of policies, regulatory measures, and budgets to tandem with ensuring women's meaningful participation and leadership at all levels. This is important to address the needs and priorities of women and girls, overcoming the multiple and intersecting forms of inequalities and discrimination they face in relation to the drivers and impacts of environmental degradation and climate change, and ensuring that women and girls equally engage in and benefit from policies and programs and their implementations. Miss CARICOM International Foundation mission and vision share good practices and lessons learned from the field in addressing existing discriminatory social and legal barriers, allowing for positive action in achieving inclusive and equitable climate resilient outcomes. This particular approach is required to stand a chance to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, since these issues as gender and climate are cutting across every SDG. We all know the 17 goals and the 169 targets. Everything about gender, women and girls cut across each and every one of them, from the first SDG to the last SDG. A piecemeal approach will not be sufficient in trying to address concerns concerning women and girls. Committing to the CSW section, Miss CARICOM International Foundation In line with its mission, we respond to the priority theme of the CSW section by addressing Fashionuer empowerment resources in achieving gender equality in the context of climate and environmental change. Fashion has been an age-long issue to various groups and development actions, encompassing every of human inclusion, from climate action to overall elements of the environment. Fashionuer empowerment resources from the environment highlight the critical crystallization on gender equality and the nexus of climate resilience on humanity, showcasing good practices on how to address structural and power imbalances to adapt to climate change and build climate resilience. So without this said, it also advances efforts to harmonize gender transformation resources with key climate change mitigation and adaptation policies. Fashionuer empowerment resources tend to highlight effective measures in building climate resilience and enabling gender transformative pathways at all levels. Miss CARICOM International Foundation will, in responding to the priority theme, achieving gender equality and empowerment of all women and girls in the context of climate change, environmental and disaster risk reduction policies and programs, will explore on inclusive fashion empowerment resources in achieving gender equality, explore on empowerment strategies in utilizing fashion and its resources from the environment, develop strategic interventions that could commit the mission of Miss CARICOM International Foundation to sustainable action during climate and environmental changes. The outcome from the presentations, we work to rebrand the mission of Miss CARICOM International Foundation towards delivering of action in terms of climate and environmental change. It will further contribute to the developing curriculum of actualizing fashion for empowerment resources in contribution to the Decade of Action and the CSW66 section. Having said this, and having our speakers, presenters, and panelists well prepared to respond to these concerns, these three major concerns of Miss CARICOM, I would like to invite the founder and the visionary of Miss CARICOM Foundation, Her Excellency Ambassador Dr. Monica Sanchez, to give us a welcome remarks. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Thank you for those opening remarks. I am Dr. Monica Sanchez, the founder of Miss CARICOM International, a registered non-for-profit 501c3 organization in permanent consultation status at the United Nations Economic and Social Council. We are in the US, the Caribbean, and Africa in a collaborative empowerment skill training network that is committed to the ongoing uplifting and education of people in our multinational African Caribbean diaspora communities, specifically the empowerment of women and youths in marginalized community. We are dedicated to the empowerment of community and the enhancing of assistance to underserved, disenfranchised people, providing them with quality program, skill training services, education, and economic independence for self-sustainability. And we have been doing this since 2004. There is no doubt that fashion has a great effect on humanity. As a society, it is a part of what defines us culturally, expressed differently across the world as style of dress that often portray the custom, value, religion, culture of and country. Fashion contributes to individual confidence, self-esteem, and state of being, expressing consciousness, creativity, confidence, personality, and style. It helps us to fit in or stand out in a crowd. Fashion has a huge effect on people, especially through the media, because of major influence or choices and feeling trendy. which in turn encourage the purchasing of items and specific style of dress and ornaments or manner of behavior. This can be related to a lifestyle. During the COVID-19, we saw a form of fashion in face covering, which is perfect example of how fashion can infect an entire generation. Resources, a stock or supply of money, material, staff, or other asset that can be drawn on by a person or organization in order to function effectively. Miss CARICOM projects and program that feature showcase in the work of designers from the Caribbean, Africa, and other indigenous nations. Our program brings together many multicultural communities for the inclusion and collaboration of world art and culture as a result. Our program creates links to fuse corporations, businesses, and organizations, showcasing the creative talent and gender skill for a common cause, the preservation of communities. Equality, a state of being equally, especially in status, right, and opportunities. Miss CARICOM tries to create a platform that promotes multicultural consciousness and social awareness by developing an active presence in the fashion skill educational service market for women and youths, with a strong professional image base for develop engaging technical marketing and promotional strategy with exclusive positioning to serve effectively and provide programs with a huge competitive edge and ultimate impact change through a platform that promotes cultural, social development for gender-based acknowledgement. Empowerment, authority or power given to someone to do something. Miss CARICOM encourage our women and youths to develop and establish a cohesive link between the international fashion business industry and consumer service market within the diaspora, standing on Miss CARICOM social media platform. Environmental, relating to nature's world and the impact of human activity and its condition. Miss CARICOM focus on this new platform that promotes multicultural consciousness and social awareness, providing media messages for the diaspora youth on environmental impact and disaster reduction of fashion and the danger to the planet Earth. A breathtaking landscape of exploding colors, home to over 8 million species of plant and animals. This planet sustained us and every creature we share it with. Many of us has taken it for granted, but it's not too late to protect the source of our creativity. Yet fashion is one of the world's biggest polluters. Our hunger for fashion is pushing species to extinction and destroying the habitat. Every year, research show that over 100 billion items of clothing are produced, and 3 out of 5 of those items end up in landfills within 12 months. For example, used clothing regularly finds its way to Africa. A perfect example is Ghana, where used clothing is creating an environmental disaster, arriving daily in container ships and put on the local market for sale. 40% of those clothing end up as waste and have to be discarded in landfills that create environmental disaster. Because as we know, some material takes years to dissolve, such as polyester. Issues such as gender-based violence, access to education, work condition, health resource, financial situation, housing accommodation, and other issues with the increase of natural disaster migration and displacement has caused a rise in child marriages, pregnancy, gender-based violence, lack of food and water, and an increase of housing accessibility, economic insecurities, and other deficiency in human rehabilitation and progress. We must implement programs that focus on STEM projects, green scale and adaptable agriculture practices, Miss CARICOM tries to eradicate stereotyping of girls' ability to lead and encourage gender leadership. Our program in Ghana, Nigeria, Gambia, Uganda, Guyana, and the USA not only promotes fashion as a style of dressing, but has developed programs for youths in showcasing farming and service to communities. For example, in Uganda, the country that experienced the longest school closing during the pandemic, Miss CARICOM has established program among the youths, Making Farming Sexy, which is a style of farming, encouraging youths to interact with their environment in the aspect of farming, which could be considered a fashion statement, while addressing gender equality and environmental change. In Venezuela, Miss CARICOM uses pageantry to empower and promote youth, giving them self-confidence and teaching self-care to create a sense of security with a consciousness towards environmental disaster and climate change. In keeping with the United Nations mandate and our decade of action, achieving gender equality in the context of climate and environmental change, Ms. CARICOM will continue working towards a peaceful world where individuals, especially women and youths, are not abused, poor, or trained, or marginalized, where people are equal and have full and equal participation, a process that ensures health, education, and economic independence, where everyone has the freedom of self-expression, identity, and to strive to achieve their full potential. I welcome all our speakers, specifically selected for this discussion. Their participation will make input to the CSW66 session priority team, as Ms. CARICOM contributes to the expected agreed conclusion from this session. I thank the panelists, the attendees, and the recipient of the Danny Glover Power of Dream Award, Dr. Judge Thomas. At this United Nations 66th session on the Commission of the Status of Women side event, Ms. CARICOM hoped to highlight Fashionuer strategy, empowerment resource in achieving gender equality in the context of climate and environmental change. I yield and I look forward to a very successful discussion and conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Sanchez, for these remarks and bringing to the global knowledge the work of Miss CARICOM Foundation. You know, one thing I know about Miss CARICOM, and that's why I'm excited about this foundation, is their input in trying to globalize fashion, you know, and just expand fashion, because people like us, we just think that fashion is the dress you wear, the makeup you wear, and all the rest of it. But through Miss CARICOM Foundation, you'll be able to know that fashion is far more than that. Fashion is cultural, fashion is religious, fashion is empathy, fashion is nutrition, fashion is integrity, fashion is comportment. Everything you can think of is a fashion. And that is exactly what they're doing in trying to reposition the humanity in line with all inclusiveness on empowerment resources by utilizing fashion. So it's a very good thing that, and they have been advancing this in most communities. In Africa, especially the developing countries, they are in most countries trying to empower, to educate, and expose the understanding about fashion values and norms in trying to sustain humanity. Even academics, education, reading culture, they're all part of fashion. But if not for Miss CARICOM, we all think that when you dress and make up is fashion. So this is a very important organization, and we thank Dr. Sanchez for her efforts since 2004 in trying to address this vision. Yes, we are going to call the next speaker, who is going to give us a reflection on the CSW66 section priority theme, and that is achieving gender equality and the empowerment of all women and girls in the context of climate change, environmental and disaster risk reduction policies and programs. And I'm calling on no other person of Her Excellency Dr. Justina Mutel. He is the president of Justina Mutel Foundation and Leadership. And the mission of this organization is empowering women and providing scholarship to younger ones, students, girls, and youth, to achieve their sustainable future. So I have no doubt this organization is well, it has status with the United Nations and has been involved. The founder, Her Excellency, has been very much involved with the affairs of humanity, gender issues, climate actions, and most of the SDG goals and targets within the United Nations and across the world. So we invite Her Excellency Dr. Justina to take the floor.
Hi, thank you, Dr. Ada, and once again, thank you to Dr. Monica Sanchez and everybody here today. I am delighted to be, I'm honored and delighted to be speaking here today. Why I am so delighted is because I'm also a fashionista. I'm a fashionista, and like Monica, you know, women are masters of multitasking. And just like Monica, I'm also a fashionista and work in the fashion industry. I have an organization called Positive Runway Global Catwalk to Stop the Spread. And that's initially was focused on stopping the spread of HIV and AIDS, and eventually grew into a social development organization trying to stop anything that is negative to do with humanity and the young generation of the 21st century. When the COVID-19 came in, we tried to use fashion to stop the spread of COVID-19. And of course, with wars and everything else, we are always, why we use fashion? Why we use fashion is because we are all young, old, and everybody's just, the people that I know, the people in my kind of world, all love fashion. So, and I believe that fashion has the power to shape the world. Fashion has the power to change the world. Fashion has the power to influence the world. And most of the people that work in the fashion industry are considered celebrities, for example, the models, the beauty queens, and of course, the fashion designers. And those celebrities that wear those high fashions that they wear. And these people, by wearing that fashion, they can influence the world. They can sway opinion on a lot of things using their blogs, using just their own personality, and just using their voice. So fashion does have an impact on the direction of the world. On the other hand, of course, we find that fashion accounts for around 10% of the greenhouse gas emissions from human activities. As I have said, everybody wants fashion. We all have wardrobes full of clothes that sometimes we bought them because they looked good in the shop window, but we've never even worn them. But they are there in our clothes, in our wardrobes or closets, as you call them in the USA. So 10% of greenhouse gases emissions come from human activities to do with fashion. But there are also ways that we can reduce that impact, that we can reduce the impact of our wardrobes on climate change, because the focus of the priority theme for the CSW66 is on climate change and how gender is involved in that. So the focus of my speech really is on how fashion affects climate change and how that, and of course, how it impacts the women and girls and gender equality. So the fashion industry accounts for about 8 or 10% of global carbon emissions and nearly 20% of wastewater. To do the fashion, to gather the cotton and put everything together, we need to use a lot of water, and that has an impact on climate change. So you find that fashion, in fact, sucks up more energy than both the aviation and shipping industry combined. This would come as a surprise to some people. But you know, while we are able to count our carbon footprints, our carbon emissions when we fly around the world, the clothing industry has a very complex supply chain. And this makes it very difficult to account for all the emissions that come from producing, for example, a pair of jeans or a coat or just a jacket or even just a pair of underwear. When you have to think, where did we get the cotton, or if we are not using the cotton, whatever material it is, how far did it have to fly around the world to get to where it is to get into that factory? How much water was used? How much energy was used? How much labor was used? All of these things come together to account for how much the fashion impacts on climate change. We also have the issue, as I've just said, how this fashion is transported, for example, how it is transported and how it is also disposed of when the consumer no longer wants it. For example, when I think, okay, I have outgrown these clothes, or I bought the wrong pair of jeans, want it, I can take it, of course, to the charity shop, and sometimes some people just dispose of it. And there's been an idea in the past few years where, for example, in Western countries, they export their used clothes to developing countries, for example, to Africa. And these clothes, of course, the people in Africa don't just accept everything. They have to choose what looks good, what is wearable, and what do we do with those things that are not wearable? Where do we throw them, especially when the materials that are used to make that fashion does not absorb into the earth? So we have all these landfills that are coming up, and of course the pollution that comes from there, and that impacts the climate change negatively. So the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change said there is an agency. They have put out this call to action, an agency for action that is required to keep the planet safe. And this is something, of course, although we use fashion and at a Positive Runway in order to sensitize the world of issues that impact the world negatively. So what action can we take to keep the planet safe? Because we are, of course, on the brink of very dangerous climate change as it is. We had in the 90s, we were talking about the rising ozone layer and things like that, but now it's plain in our sight. We can see that. I am speaking from Zambia at the moment, from Africa. And I can't believe how cold sometimes Zambia can be. Zambia has never been this cold. The winters in Zambia, as I knew them when I was growing up, were what would be considered the spring in the United Kingdom or the spring in the UK. But in a few past years, we've even had, for example, snow falling in Zambia or South Africa and other parts of Africa, a thing that never used to happen before. And you can imagine the impact on that, for example, on the crops and on the food, on the agricultural sector of the people, and of course, just on the people, because the homes in Africa are not fitted with radiators or heating applications. So you find that it is a very negative weather, adverse weather. And also in the UK, then I found that sometimes the summers get so hot that it reminds me of Zambia, it reminds me of Africa. And it never used to be that way when I moved to the UK. So we are on the brink of very dangerous climate change, and we need immediate action. We also need immediate action for the fashion sector. We need it to be aligned with the goals of the climate change and the Paris Climate Change Agreement and move towards net zero emissions by 2050. And how do we do this? We have to make fashion sustainable. We need to make fashion ethical. We need to make it ethical. We need to make it sustainable. And how do we make fashion ethical and sustainable? We need to look for those materials. We need to find a way of producing fashion that does not produce so much pollution. We need to find a way of materials that we can use for ethical fashion that do not have a negative impact on climate change in the world. And of course, we can still use fashion for the CARICOM Fashion Foundation. We can also use Positive Runway to sensitize people. Through fashion, we have a voice. Through fashion, we know we can change the world. Through fashion, we know that we can shape the world. And we need to connect all the diverse stakeholders in the fashion industry, starting from the raw material producers, the textile producers, apparel manufacturers, brands, models, beauty queens, fashion designers, to identify new areas for action, and of course, to scale up any existing initiatives that connect to the value chain. How do we work around this so that we can reduce the negative impact of fashion on the planet? So we need a concerted effort from across the sector that can lead to significant reductions in greenhouse gas emissions. And of course, we need to put the fashion industry on a track to implement the goals of, I have already mentioned, the Paris Agreement, and also the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. So in 2018, the fashion stakeholders under the auspice of the UN Climate Change work to identify ways in which the broader textile and clothing and fashion industry can move towards a holistic commitment to climate change. And they created what is called the Fashion Industry Charter for Climate Change, which contains the vision to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. I can't go into that, otherwise we'll be here the whole day. You know how huge charters can be and how complicated the language in there can be. But as I said before, fashion has the power to change the world. If we can change the way we manufacture fashion, the way we use fashion, and the way we dispose of fashion. We need to make fashion that is recyclable. We need to, for example, you'll see some of these top personalities wearing something that is called vintage. This is where they recycle something, for example, from the 60s and come and wear. Remember, fashion, clothing, the material that is mostly used for fashion does not dissolve into the earth. So it will live in forever. That is how come even fashion from the 60s, which is 60 years old, a pair of jeans 60 years old, can still be worn now. If you don't wear it, you throw it into a landfill, and that causes all these, the negative impact on climate change. So we need to be innovative and bring in a new mindset and a new way of thinking of how do we address these issues. Is there another way that through these fashion industries, as we all love fashion, is there a way that we can find some kind of sustainable materials to make this fashion that we also very much love? And of course, women and girls are at the center of this fashion industry. As designers, we have models. I think 75% of models are women. Fashion consumers like myself are women. We also have those women that work in the cotton fields to pick the cotton or whatever material that makes the fabric for the fashion. We have loads of women, for example, if you go to Asia, working in those factories. In Bangladesh, you heard about Victoria's Secrets. It's manufactured in Bangladesh and it's full of women working on those factory machines. And of course, in the wholesale and retail shops, most of the time it's women and girls that work in there. So various studies show that women and girls are disproportionately affected by the impacts of disaster, the impacts of severe weather events and climate change because of cultural norms and the inequitable distribution of roles, resources, and power, especially in most developing countries. So women and girls around the world find themselves having to adapt through no choice of their own. In fact, they are forced to adapt their lives to a changing climate. So that way, women and girls are more impacted with climate change than their male counterparts. So as we look to this, as we look at fashion, as we look at climate change and gender equality, we need to empower women and girls with the necessary skills, with the necessary conditions, the necessary environment to help reverse climate change through their work, through their own livelihoods, through their own lifestyles, and of course, through their choices of fashion, to help reverse climate change and also to have sustainable livelihoods. Thank you.
Wow, that is excellent presentation from our special guest speaker. You know, what the doctor has just relayed to us is an in-depth thought process into what the team of CSW66 section is actually looking into. Now, she has been able to let us know that we need to make fashion more sustainable and more ethical, and we need to find ways of producing fashion that do not produce emissions. And you know, when these are produced, it affects the environment and also the climate action. And who suffers is women and girls. So positive, there should also need for a positive runway to sensitize people, make a move to have a holistic commitment to climate change and power to change the world, using fashion to change the world. So we thank you, Doctor. I know I'm not surprised for what you have said, because I know you have been an in-depth, an insider into the workings of the United Nations when it comes to issues of women and girls, including the Paris Agreement and other aspects of involvement you have participated in at the United Nations. So we appreciate you and we thank you for this wonderful presentation. Without wasting more time, our time is fast running. It's almost 1 o'clock, but we are doing well. Want to bring it into the vehicle of delivery. This is where we want to highlight what the Miss CARICOM is actually want to address within this period. And he said Fashionuer empowerment resources in achieving gender equality in the context of climate and environmental change. So with that, we are going to have the first speaker on this section is Denise Jennings, who is the CEO of Hibiscus Cultural House of Fashion. This organization specializes in evening wear and work outfits. So she's going to highlight to us how we can use the mission of her organization to raise empowerment resources in achieving gender equality. Dennis, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, everybody. Dr. Monica, Dr. Avon, Dr. Justine, and everyone else on the panel. It's my pleasure to be here this afternoon with you all. Please excuse the noise that you're hearing in the background, but today's a national holiday in Guyana, and they're celebrating right outside my door. Okay, my name is Denise Jennings, and I'm Guyanese. I'm a fashion designer, and I'm also the CEO of Hibiscus Couture House of Fashion. My journey into fashion began while I was living in Barbados for about 25 years ago. It all started with me hand sewing outfits for myself. I fitted myself so perfectly that persons began inquiring as to who the person was that was making my clothing, or who the needle worker was. In Barbados, they call a seamstress the needle worker. After mastering the art of accurately taking measurements, making patterns, and cutting out the fabric, I decided to design and sew swimwear for myself because I'm a full figure lady, and it's not always possible to find suitable swimwear to fit me. You know, sometimes when you find a swimwear, the bottom would fit and then the top wouldn't, or vice versa. So I decided to design and sew my own swimwear. I was spotted on the beach wearing my swimwear by my friend Joan Ward, who was then the editor-in-chief of Chabot magazine. She invited me to be interviewed and to prepare a swimwear line for full figure women, which was featured in her magazine, Chabot magazine. I was also featured on the cover of Barbados Today, the fashion edition of Barbados Today. After doing a number of shows and events in Barbados, I decided to return to Guyana in 2016. And along with my colleague, Oral Welchman, we fused together photo, film, and fashion and held the very first event of that kind at the Arthur Chung Convention Center under the name of Cinefex. Oral and I combined choreography and fashion, which enabled us to have on stage from 1 to 10 models at a time in scenes, because we wanted to change things up a bit. We didn't just want to have the girls or the models just walk the runway. We wanted, you know, a production kind of thing. So we created scenes whereby it's choreography, music, and fashion at the same time in a scene. It was at this event that I had the first ever 34 couture pieces collection on stage in Guyana, and that was an awesome experience. I can never forget that. I later flew to the United States to receive the DDEA Humanitarian Award and to showcase in Maryland in 2019 and 2021. And I'm going to be there again this year to showcase. My colleagues, Oral Welchman, Lance North, and Jackie Brathwaite are presently preparing for a production that we will be having in Brooklyn on July 30th. We are marrying together theater, dance, music, and fashion into a musical production, something like, you know, like a Broadway style production. We're trying to highlight fashions from the 40s right down to present time. After that, we'll be heading to Jamaica, where Oral and I will be showcasing at the Jamaican Fashion Week on August 20th and 21st. And then we'll be returning to the United States to be one of the opening acts for the Guyana Day at the Coney Island. Then in September, we will be putting together the entertainment segment for the 2022 DEA Awards in Maryland. Fashion has always been my passion. I'm inspired by the different colors, movements, textures, and even sounds that I encounter every day. And I put them all into fashion. I specialize in couture designs, African attire, swimwear, and costumes for matrimony and carnival. It is my pleasure to be here today because I'm learning a lot from the ladies that have spoken before me. And I can now see the importance of using fashion to change the world with the right use of material that does not negatively impact on climate change. And I would like to let you ladies know that I'm on board with anything that we have to do together as a body to help that change to become a reality. I know my time, I've not taken the 10 minutes, but this is my very first experience speaking on such a panel, and it's been my pleasure, and I thank you for having me.
Wow. Thank you, Denise. You did not speak as if it's your first time on being on this panel. You were direct to share with us what you have been doing. And what a wonderful record you have, starting from a young girl and develop this kind of skill, and you are still carrying up with it. So probably we'll schedule another meeting for us to educate us on your empowerment strategies on how you started as a young child and taking it up to this level, up to being able to do inter-country exhibition and showcasing of your talent. Wow, that's a very good. You really have, what do I say, a strong empowerment resource that brought you up to this level. And I can see the fashion index reading all over you, even at this. So thank you for this presentation. And I think what you are doing calls for partnership relationship with Miss CARICOM Foundation to expand on that, because the younger ones and those who are passionate about developing their skills, inherent talent and skills, will be able to learn the strategies and the empowerment resources that you use to get your initiative to this level. Thank you for such presentation.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. The next speaker on the line, with this again, another important person to tell us about another dimension of fashion resource in trying to achieve gender equality in the context of climate and environmental change. And that is no other person than Dr. Roseanne Simon Lord, who is a naturopathic doctor, CEO, Mother Earth Juice Bar, Barcalf, New York, and a prominent pastor in the Vineyard of God. Dr. Simon Lord, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I just want to thank Dr. Ada, Dr. Sanchez, and all the honorable guests here today, distinguished guests, and on the panel, as well as the guests in the Zoom room. Some of those are my friends and colleagues, and I just want to welcome you all, especially from Benin. We have people from different countries, so we welcome you all today. Thank you. So in line with the CSW66 theme of empowering resources in achieving gender equality.
Dr. Sanchez, you changed, you changed my host. That's why I can't remove this from the screen to bring in Dr. Lord. Give me back the host again. Okay. Go ahead, doctor. I'll bring you in now.
Okay. So, okay, there I go. Hi.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so in this context of climate and environment, I am here to speak on sustainable actions to empower the health and the well-being of women globally. This is a very important subject because women, we bear the task of carrying our offspring, the babies in our wombs. So if we are not healthy, then our race will be impacted by having, unhealthy babies that are born toxic from all of the environmental disparities and toxins, radiation, viruses, So all of this leads to undue stress on the human mind and the body, and emotional stress. A lot of this leads to distress in the spirit. So all Earth citizens, particularly the female gender and the children, we have to really relate to this subject because it has the responsibility of the continuum of our race. So natural resources such as clean water, such as fresh air, such as sunlight, minerals, and vitamins are all derived from Mother Earth. These natural resources have been placed upon the earth by the Creator, the Most High, Hashem, hallelujah, to sustain the human race. However, we live in a world where these natural resources have been compromised, mass-produced, and commercialized by big companies, by big pharma, for profit. Now, this has led to disparities in a lot of communities across the world, as far as in low-income communities who can't afford some of these resources that were natural resources. Now they are paid resources. This has removed a lot of people from their food supply chain. We don't know a lot of times where that food came from. So when you don't know where your food is coming from, that's a problem. So we come today, I would like to, hereby introduce some measures, some actions that we can take as global citizens to reduce these disparities in health and wellness across communities across the world. This really means that because you live in a low-income community, you should not have a shortage of food, because God has placed dirt wherever you are, the rich minerals of the soil. He has water wherever you are. He has oxygen wherever you are. There's oxygen and fresh air, vitamin D, all of these things. See, oxygen, fresh air carries, brings in a lot of oxygen, okay, especially in the mountain areas, especially in areas where there are forests. And we know that the deforestation exists in areas like in the Caribbean. In a lot of areas, they burn down the forests and they build up shopping malls and everything. So our rich soil has been compromised, leading to disparities in health, leading to disparities in the children being born, where they are born weak, not so strong as in other communities where they can afford really good foods, really good organic foods. So in low-income communities, we can't really sometimes afford organic foods. So this is another problem that we have to try to solve. Also, a lot of the water that exists in the world, the water supply, has been compromised as well, because we have gotten so sophisticated in the commercialization of our water. We now want our water in a bottle, and we've gotten used to this water in a bottle, and it's sophisticated to have your water in a bottle. However, these bottles are littering the entire earth, and they are not biodegradable bottles. So there's a problem. So we might want to suggest, I would like to suggest that we go back to natural mineral water, natural spring water. See, the spring water holds many, many minerals that God intended for us, human beings, the race. This water, this mineral water, helps our brains, it helps our bones to grow. But when you get it in a bottle, it doesn't have the minerals that God has placed upon the earth for us. It has not been filtered through the soil for us anymore. So that's a problem. Therefore, for the sake of continuum of our race, we have to return to the proverbial Garden of Eden. We are calling a return to Mother Earth. This is a place, a society where our food comes from the ground, where we know the source of the food and are not dependent on others to provide our food. So each family should really start cultivating a backyard garden. Each society really needs to have pots of dirt where we are growing our own foods. Each inhabitant, I'm sorry, that's the juicer in the background. Ayona, now is not a good time. Oh, okay then. Okay, so I'm at the juice bar. If you would please excuse me, we are making juice so people can have better health. So I will try to speak a little louder, okay? Where we know the, okay, where was I? Each inhabitant, especially our children, should lessen time spent in front of the computer, the laptop, and the handheld devices. These devices hold much radiation. And also right now in our world, these bombs that have been released from the Ukraine holds much radiation. So we need substances such as kelp, which is a seaweed, it's a sea moss. This seaweed, these sea moss, it comes from the sea. So it has a lot of minerals in it to feed our brains. Vitamin D plays a role not only in our health, but in the development of the bones. All of our organs need water so that they can perform at an optimum level. When we deprive our cells and our organs of water, what happens is that the eyes need water, our heart needs water. For men, you need water to continue your seed, to sow your seed, so the female can have a baby. When that water is compromised, we get dehydrated in the mind, our eyes start failing, and the man is not able to continually rise to the occasion. So we need a lot of water so that we can have healthy joints as well. So water plays such an important part. The thyroid gland needs water, needs kelp, needs minerals to protect the thyroid from the radiation of the bombs. Is also, we're more connected than we think. Okay, now the olive leaf derived from one of the oldest cultivated trees in the world, over 3,000 years ago, this olive leaf, this olive tree. It is the tree that's sometimes called the tree of life. And it is the tree that is spoken about in the book of Revelation by the theologian St. John, who was exiled in the island of Patmos in Greece. So he spoke about this tree of life that bears crops like the olive, like olive oil, which is sacred. Now, all of these are natural resources that we really need to continually cultivate our soil worldwide so that it can provide for the continuum of the human race. So this same leaf, the olive leaf, and you know, that's the same leaf, the olive branch, meaning peace, had in Noah's time. Now this same olive leaf has very, very strong, highly antiviral properties, and also antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, and it manages the blood pressure and the blood sugar. Many of our people around the world, millions of our people around the world are suffering from diabetes, from cancers, from very preventable diseases. Now, I'm quite sure that that Jesus drank olive leaf tea because it is still on the earth and it's been there since Jesus, over 3,000 years ago. It has been helpful for the bubonic plague. It has been helpful for a lot of diseases since humanity. Okay. This is what we use among other herbal remedies. I've been combining many food substances and herbal remedies to help the inhabitants of our earth to stay strong and my community. For example, a freshly pressed juice a day can prevent many terminal illnesses and keep our bodies and our minds intact. And in my practice as a naturopathic doctor, I've seen a lot of people juice and live to tell about how they juice their way out of cancer, how they changed their diet and was able to rebuke, I would use, diabetes, were able to be cancer-free. Okay, now in my practice, I've seen a lot of clients who were not so lucky. The percentages are very high, really, on the people who have juiced or used alternative medicine to live, to survive, to stay living, to stay alive. You know, they've used natural therapies and they've lived. But however, sadly, in my practice, I've also seen the opposite, where a lot of people, the percentages are rather high, extremely high, of where people who have gone with radiation, with different forms of chemotherapy that have not been so lucky. And I've been very sad to see this. So that led me to a slogan, juice and live, to tell about it. Okay, and so finally, specifically to women and girls, our inward beauty can shine fabulously as we take good care of ourselves, both inwardly and outwardly. We all need that water, that sleep. We all need fresh air, that vitamin D from fresh air, that sunshine, all these natural resources that God have provided. We really need it, and a healthy diet to look great. And as you know, when we look good, we feel good. And we are able to live our best lives because then we are not depressed. We are feeling good and we are confident and we are beautiful. I myself have reduced my stress by at least 60% at this time, and it has helped my blood pressure to regulate itself. I've reduced the stress because stress causes so many diseases that are preventable. So we want to reduce stress and embark on a regimen of good health, like, you know, healthy eating, I said that before, and the water and the sunlight, get the kids away from the computers, let them go into soccer, you know, different games, outdoor activities, for circulation, because we are now going into a decade of very chubby kids, kids that have diabetes. It is widespread. It is becoming an epidemic because these kids now, you know, they're in front of the computer, the laptop, and they're playing games that harm their minds and all of their being. It harms them. So we want to stop this trend by starting more sustainable actions to keep the kids alive and to have the young boys as well as the young girls. See, the young boys, we need to protect their seed. We don't want them to be impotent when they're 19. Then they won't be able to continue the race. And the young girls, we want them to be healthy. We don't want them to be sick with diabetes and they have unhealthy kids who are born with a disease from the mother's womb. So we want to carefully tend to our children, no matter what gender they are. We really want to tend to them so that they are healthy children, especially the girls though, because they have the responsibility of having the baby. So I'm so excited by my new regimen of skincare. I've been learning to take care of my skin now, and I have on no makeup, but I just want to let you know that we have to, as women, take better care of ourselves, because then our beauty just shines through. So here's to living less stressed lives, okay, and happy lives. We want to start feeling happy again. We are so bogged down a lot of times by financial stress, by the physical health issues. So now is the time for us to really take care of ourselves and take better care of our families. So I can be reached info@motherearthjuice.com, and our website is motherearthjuice.com. I thank you and I yield the floor.
Wow, Dr. Simon Lutz, you have you have really touched into important strategies for gender equality. I like very important word you've used, or what you brought back to our mind, is return to proverbial Garden of Eden. And I used called it the home of organic and natural living. Return to our Garden of Eden, where we have organic and natural living. So this is exactly what we are talking about this time, because we are looking at things that even when we have climate changes or climate action, environmental pollution and emissions, we still need something that can keep our antigen strong so that we don't fall victim. And one of those things is the natural living from the Mother Earth. And Dr. Simmons have been able to let us know that these natural resources, such as water, air, sunlight, mineral, and vitamins, come from natural resources. And these were created for humanity. And we should give time for such, especially women and girls. We should give time for such resources to impact on us. She also mentioned that women and girls need to take care of inward and outward beauty. They need to reduce stress and embark on new regimen for happy living. Doctor, I'll come back to you for real training, because I think I'm one of those that need this training. I'll really come back for you to train, because we can't be talking about gender equality without talking about healthy living for women and girls, and it's a part of fashion, you know. So it's very important. I would thank you for developing this initiative into this form. Thank you so much. Before I call the next speaker, I would like to bring back Dr. Sanchez to the podium to honor her, the Honorable Thomas with a special CSW66 section award.
Yes.
Trying to look for her. I think
I think she
signed out.
No, she's off because she had to go. She's off because she had to go.
Oh, okay, okay. So you want to do it in her absence?
Well, we'll just acknowledge it on the program, and then I'll try to get in touch with her, meet up with her. But we have decided to honor one of our women, since you know this is the Commission on Social Development. And so this is the Danny Glover Powell Dream Award. And it's we are giving this special recognition to our Honorable Dolores J. Thomas. She's a New York State Supreme Court Kings County judge. And I would just like to read a little bit about her. The Honorable Dolores J. Thomas is a native of Alabama. She was born in Bogey, Alabama, where she attended public school and graduated with honors from Utah High School in 1972. She received a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science with honors from Alabama State University in 1975, and a Juris Doctorate degree from the University of Georgia Law School in 1978. Judge Thomas is admitted to the state and federal bar in Georgia and New York. After law school, Judge Thomas moved to New York, where she began her legal career. Her experience includes staff and management attorney in housing, immigration, and unemployment, law units with Brooklyn Legal Service, Corporation B, 1978-1994, and Corporation A, 1988-1990, and President Organizer for Legal Service Staff Association, District 65, UAW 1986-1989. In March of 1994, Justice Thomas was appointed as a judge in the housing part of civil court, where she handled matters relating to landlord and tenant issues. She was reappointed to a second 5-year term in 1999. In November of 2002, she was elected to the civil court bench and became the first Black person to be elected to a countrywide judgeship in Kings County. In civil court, Judge Thomas presides over bench and jury trials dealing with wide range of legal matters, organizing in civil court and matters referred to New York Supreme Court. Judge Thomas was elected to the Supreme Court in November of 2006. In January 2007, she was assigned to the matrimonial trial part. Justice Thomas, is currently one of 6 matrimonial judges in Kings County. Professional membership include the Judicial Friends in National Association of Women Judges, the New York State Bar Association, the Brooklyn Bar Association, the Brooklyn Women's Bar Association, the New York City Bar Association, and State and City Association of Supreme Court Justices. She also served as a recording secretary for the Kings County branch of the ASCJ. Justice Thomas expresses her faith at the Greater Bright Light Missionary Baptist Church, where she served as president of the Mass Choir and president of the trustee board. She's also a member of Delta Sigma Theta Seniority, the Eastern Star Organization, and Church Women United, Inc. Congratulations, Justice Thomas, on receiving this award. And it's the Danny Glover Power of Dream Award. And it says, actor Danny Glover Power of Dream Award. And its certificate is proudly presented to her honor, Dolores J. Thomas, celebrating Women History Month. A person who followed their dream and in doing so, contribute to the uplifting and improvement of a person, place, or thing. Congratulations. Thank you. Continue, Madam Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Sanchez, and congratulations to Judge Thomas for such honor and recognition, very significant to the theme of the CSW, addressing gender equality. It's always good in times of discussions, global discussions like this, to recognize prominent women, because always talking about issues concerning women does not excite most of us. But when we bring on board prominent women whose track record will be a point of a resource and empowerment to other young women. So we thank Lord Thomas for efforts she has done in all these years to promote gender equality. And we pray that she will continue to be a model to the upcoming women. Like me. I want to be like her when I grow up. Thank you so much. Yes, I want to bring in our next speaker. Is supposed to call in from Cameroon. She's having network challenges. She's trying to call in and it's telling her the Zoom is not available. I don't know why. So that we are going to look at the call to action, strategies in achieving gender equality in the context of climate and environmental change. And we're looking at no other person as Marina Dochinov. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce her name. She is a producer and a global journalist with particular interest on gender equality.
Yes.
Marina, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. And congratulations to all the speakers. You've all been fantastic. I'm very excited to be a part of this. And I've actually prepared a presentation, so I would love to share my screen with you.
I'll give you sharing rights. You can do it.
Yeah, if that's okay.
Yes. You have the right.
Awesome. Just give me 1 second. Okay, can you guys see that?
Sure.
Wonderful. Okay, so my speech is, if it wants to cooperate, called Strategies in Achieving Gender Equality in the Context of Climate and the Environment. This is a very important topic that I think needs to be spoken about. So I'm very excited to be able to speak my views on this. So today's agenda, we're going to be talking about gender equality and climate change, what makes a crisis, the economic impact of climate change, the effect it has on education, how we should respond, and how we can learn and actually grow from this crisis. So I'll just do a brief introduction on myself to begin. My name is Marina Dochinov. I am an entrepreneur, a journalist. I'm the CEO and founder of the Zero Experiment, which is very environmentally friendly and a new way to kind of experience art. I have a BA in law, so I'm a lawyer. I have a BA in journalism, and I also have an MBA from the University of Melbourne. And in regards to the current climate, with everything that's going on in Ukraine, I just wanted to touch on that a little bit. My family are actually political refugees from Croatia. So we came to Australia with 2 suitcases and $100 in our pocket and nothing else. My parents could not speak English. They taught themselves and they went to school. They're both PhDs now, and I went on to get my degrees. So I went from Australia to London working as a fashion editor, from London to New York City. I opened a gallery in Chelsea, and when COVID-19 hit, everything went up in smoke. So, I was forced to become creative to kind of work with the pandemic and kind of create an economic and a social impact in a different way. So I've guest lectured at Columbia University, I've taught at Parsons and the London University of Arts. So that's my background. So let's launch into the presentation. Part 1, so talking about gender equality and climate change. So what is gender equality within climate change? So as you can see, men and women, they're experiencing climate change in very different ways right now. What does it mean? So studies have found that 80% of people displaced by climate change are actually women. And the economic and health impacts of prolonged droughts, reduced food production, and severe weather events are disproportionately felt by females. The world's poorest countries are the most vulnerable, with women making up a majority of the 1.5 billion people living on less than $1 a day. Worldwide, women aged between 25 and 35 are 25% more likely than men to live in extreme poverty. So this can be quantified in numerous ways. We need to recognize the contribution of women as decision makers, stakeholders, educators, carers, and experts across different sectors, and to really get to the bottom and make a successful long-term solution to climate change. And global negotiations have increasingly reflected the growing understanding of gender considerations in climate decisions making over the last 8 years. So we're continuing progress towards gender equality, and hopefully we can achieve success in climate action. So what is a crisis? It is defined as an ecological crisis when changes to the environment of a species or population destabilizes its continual survival. So some of the important causes include degradation of lands and increased pressures from predation. And something that we're also facing right now in real time is inflation of services. So according to the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, if women had the same access to productive resources as men, they could increase yields on their farms by 20 to 30%, which could raise total agriculture output in developing countries by 2.5 to 4%, which, as we know, is a huge impact on these developing economies. So what is the economic impact? So I'm actually going to diverge a little bit and talk about the pay gap between men and women, which is very relevant to this discussion. So women are still being paid less in the workforce. So women get 82 cents to every dollar that a man is being paid. This can result in further inequality with regards to climate change as ecosystems degrade, burdens on women and girls increase. That limits opportunities for education and income generation and increases exposure to violence, including sexual assaults. As a coping strategy in the face of food scarcity, women are statistically more likely than men to reduce the amount of food they eat. A call to action would be to close the wage gap for both men and women, creating an equal opportunity ecosystem, which would allow for greater gender equality. And how we can do this is hopefully it's all about education. So the more education that we put towards women in these fields, the more that things are going to change. So the effect of education, 70% of the world's poor are actually women, and 1 in 4 girls between 5 and 19 are not getting educated, as opposed to 1 in 10 boys. So, there's a very big discrepancy there. So I think education for women needs to be a priority as a direct result of the climate. As the socioeconomic climate changes, and especially due to COVID-19, women are being pressured into taking menial pay or roles by fear of being pushed out of the workforce. Due to this circumstantial phenomena, the pay gap between men and women rises, and as goods and services inflates, women are being kept in the bottom poverty level of society. So this is a graphic, as you can see, of kind of like the differences between men and women. So I do want to also touch on the climate in art. So I do come from an art background, having had a gallery, and I just wanted to touch on NFTs, which is the wave of the future. No one's actually doing canvas art anymore. Everything's going digital, which sounds great in theory. However, with these NFT transition, we're finding that, it's taking up so much power just to run these through electricity. People are using big TVs right now to show NFTs, and they're rotating their art collection daily. And that's pumping so much electricity and using so much output out there in the atmosphere that we're going to see a surge, and it's going to accelerate climate change, which is not what we want at all. So we do have to kind of look into different ways to showcase art and ways and solutions to this problem. So COVID-19, how have we been affected? So while the impact of COVID-19 were expected to lead to 150 million more extreme poor climate change and climate-related disasters, are expected to push an additional 132 million people into extreme poverty by 2030, unless profound and targeted climate action is taken and folded into the pandemic response and recovery measures. So this is a graphic about what we were just talking about. A call to action, again, would be to educate women as much as possible and to close that pay gap. And how can we learn and grow, and how can we move forward? So we need to recognize that we are going through a crisis. And once we recognize that, then we need to implement the changes to educate people on how to kind of move forward. So thank you very much. And these are my resources for my talk. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Marina. This shows you are truly a journalist. That's so you are truly a journalist, because you've provided an in-depth research on this particular topic.
Thank you. Yeah,
And
to try to get a larger scope on things.
oh, wow. Thank you so much. And you see, one of the things that makes me always go the other way is like, for years, the United Nations, member states, NGOs, civil societies, gender advocates have been talking about gender equality, making women this, and yet women are still being marginalized, they're still underpaid, they're still more vulnerable to situations and circumstances. And I wonder, what are we really gender equalizing? Because it's taking time. It's really taking time. Why can't governments, those involved, stakeholders, agencies and corporations look at these issues? What is the fear? What is actually the fear when we talk about gender equality? Even in the home, there are some homes that women are just seen and not heard. Even up till now, women are still underpaid. Women who are even in technology, in science, in STEM careers, they are underpaid. Their positions are limited because they say you are a woman. I want to believe that we should be more aggressive. There should be more call to action force to address this issue. Every speech you had today always impacted on stress on women, situation of women, negative impact, emissions of women, even fashion on women. So I'm really very concerned, because it's like we are doing more talking than actions. And SDG is fast going, less than 8 years to go. Less than 8 years to go. So I want to really plead that some of us who are in active concerns, in active vision, in it address gender issues, we need to be more proactive. We need to think about action points, not talking points, action points that can make us achieve this gender equality. When you go to developing countries, the situation of women are even worse. In communities, is worse. They toil day and night. And at the end of it all, their health is challenged. Their health is challenged. Some of these things we mentioned here, I wonder how many women have time because of the numerous things they do. So we continue to talk. You know, in my adage, they said, when you speak, when you speak and it does not hear, is the fault of the ear. And when you see and you don't speak, is the fault of the mouth. So I don't know whether we are, whether it's an initiative that we keep talking, we keep talking, we keep talking, we keep talking, and then see where we can get into. So I want to thank the panelists for their time, for their contributions, and I believe that Miss CARICOM International Foundation for the Action in committing to CSW will delve, expunge into these presentations and be able to come out with a curriculum that Miss CARICOM can utilize in addressing some of these challenges between now and March next year. Because by next week, by next Friday, the theme for next year will come out. But organizations usually come out with programs that can continue to address the outcome of the CSW. We are believing that the agreed conclusion coming out by Friday will be very involving and committing to addressing the gender issues with respect to climate action, disaster risk reduction, and environmental change. So I want to thank you for your effort. And on the chart, I can see some acknowledgement to the speakers. Let me see. Acknowledgement to the speakers. Someone from Guyana said, blessings for a fantastic rest of a day to everyone from Guyana. I would like to thank Dr. Monica Sanchez for inviting me to attend this forum. The topics being addressed here are quite interesting and important for our future generations, especially as a textile artist and designer myself. I'm examining ways to incorporate more upcycling in my piece. That's a good one from all the way from Jennifer in Guyana. And we have, okay, this is from Marina. Said the talks have been amazing so far. Very proud of everyone on this panel. Great job. And I also want to be like her. Someone say you want to be like you, all the way from, maybe it's a Nigerian name, Oga Oyene, want to be like you. So that's interesting. And someone, Christine, said, congratulations to Honorable Judge Delos Thomas for the award received today. And Sawala said, excellent section, very insightful and instructive. Let's put words to action. I agree with you very well. No more talking. Let's get action points. Hi, Maria. Thanks for so much for presenting. It was awesome. So, which other one? Very proud. Let me go up again so I don't miss anyone. Okay, Honorable George said this is an extremely important event, and I'm sorry I have to leave. Thank you for making me a part of this, and if I can be of service, do not hesitate to reach out to me. That was a comment before she left. And people have shown that this meeting is not in vain, and people really benefited from such meeting. So I want to thank everyone. And before we close up, I want to call on Her Excellency Ambassador Dr. Monica Sanchez to give her appreciation and closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Dr. Adder, you have outdone yourself. We have experienced so many challenges, but here we are. We have still accomplished our goal. And it's just to highlight the panelists and also the organizer for their strive to excellence, because you have to continue to fight. You have to continue to make an effort to progress, even though challenges exist. I am grateful to the panelists. Dr. Justine, as we may or may not know, just had her side event just a couple of minutes before she joined us. So I just want to say to her that I was able to log into some of your event, and congratulations. And I am grateful that you were able to jump right into our event. It just shows how resilient women are.
Grateful to the panelists, Dr. Justine, as we
Thank you very much. Thank you, Monica. Thank you.
And to Marina, I know that I'm really proud of you. And I'm here with, I have the other person you met, and she's like, oh my God, she's awesome. So I just want you to know that you're awesome. Such phenomenal women on this panel here. Miss Jinke Jennings from Guyana, even though you said this was your first time, I want you to know you did an excellent job. And I hope that I know despite the Pagua celebration in Guyana outside your door and everything else, you did an excellent job. Congratulations.
Thank you, Monica. It's my pleasure.
I know Guyana has a Pago celebration. It's a holiday, and they decide to come right outside her door. I don't know if it's because of the design, fashion, or a fashion statement. Dr. Ada, thank you. And thank you to all our audience. I hope that you will continue to follow us as we strive to empower and promote women and women issues. I thank you guys and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Dr. Ada.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sanchez, for this opportunity and for Miss CARICOM International Foundation for the work they're doing and many more to come. I want to encourage each of every one of us to make our time and join the sections on the CSW by logging into the UN Web TV and then look at Commission on Status of Women programs. We'll be able to learn more on what is going on across the world. Every member state of 193 countries are there trying to relay to the global community on their work, on what they've done on women and gender. So I want to thank you, and I want us to get involved. You see, I'm glad someone said action points. Let's get at action points and begin to address this more globally and help Miss CARICOM to expand their work to more communities and see how we can help the life and health and future of women and girls more sustainably. I thank you, speakers, and I wish to, my name is Oliver Twist. I'll come again.
My sister and friend, Dr. Lord, who did an excellent
Thank you all.
too. I haven't forgotten you.
Thank you all. Thank you all. God bless you.
Thank you so much. We'll stay in touch. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Wonderful to be on the panel.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Dr. Ada, someone asked if Marina presentation can be shared.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure. Marina, send it. Yeah, we
share.
can get it. Yes. Send the present. You can get it. Or you can also get the link for the video.
Yeah, I can.
Send it to my email.
I can send it to your email, and then you can pass it along.
Yes, no problem.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
God bless you all. And see you tomorrow, Saturday, same time, 10 a.m. to 12 and 12 noon to this. We have another event tomorrow on CSW66 section. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. and 10 to 12 and 12 to 2. 2 programs tomorrow. And 4 to 6 is tomorrow.
Share it, Dr. Adam.
Yes, I will share the link. Thank you all for coming. God bless you all.
Thank you, guys. And thank all my audience for the love and the support. Thank you. Thank you. Continue to support us and follow us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Judge Thomas, phenomenal woman. Congrats.